What makes Japanese different from Ainu? What makes Russian different from Yupik? And what makes Turkish different from Abkhaz? These aren't random languages. They're all part of the same category. But Japanese, Russian, and Turkish have very different grammar than Ainu, Yupik, and Abkhaz. What gives? And how do we describe the difference? Language typology is annoying. It's basically just people with PhDs throwing languages onto D&D alignment charts and taking their horoscope. Unfortunately, I do have to explain how linguists categorize languages. While historical linguists study how the language evolves like an absolute Chad, typologists prefer this little political compass setup. On the left, you have analytic languages, like English, Vietnamese, Afrikaans, and all Sinitic languages. These guys store their grammar at the sentence level, using strict word order and lots of helping words to express meaning. On the right side, you have synthetic languages, like Russian, Romance languages, Nadene languages, and tons more. Every language has sentences, but synthetic languages express a lot more grammar at the word level. Here's the issue. It doesn't really make a difference if it's a sentence or a word. French, for instance, likes to pretend it has more words than it does. The way pronouns stick to verbs, chunks blend together. Yeah, that's kind of sus French. But the second issue is that most languages are synthetic. The scale doesn't tell us much. You can refine it even more by turning the ends into their own categories, but that's kind of stupid if no one can agree where to draw the line. To fix this, linguists split synthetic languages into two chunks. Agglutinative languages stick lots of prefixes and suffixes onto their own words. Fusional languages squish all those affixes together. So while an agglutinative language would have separate affixes for first-person singular, past, imperfect, and subjunctive, Spanish just has a single conjugation. Good luck memorizing all those forms. Here's the issue, though. A language can be both at the same time. Navajo is very agglutinative with lots of affixes. It also fuses some of those bits together. It's that mix of fusional and agglutinative that makes the language so hard, among a lot of other things. To make matters worse, these categories still don't divide things very evenly. Most languages are agglutinative. It's really clear that the people who came up with this system were most familiar with English, then with Romance languages, and they kind of just lumped everything else together. So if it's that stupid, why'd I just explain it? Because it's important for those languages I brought up at the beginning. All of them are synthetic, agglutinative languages, but Ainu, Yupik, and Abkhaz are polysynthetic. Remember how I said linguists like to turn the ends into their own categories? Polysynthetic languages are just that. They're super synthetic. They're so synthetic, in fact, that you can express an entire sentence worth of information in single big polysyllabic words, or more accurately, those big polysynthetic words take an entire English sentence to describe. But let's get back to that question at the beginning. Why are Ainu, Yupik, and Abkhaz, oh geez, I'm pronouncing these differently every single time, polysynthetic, when Japanese, Russian, and Turkish are not? All of them are very synthetic languages. I mean, have you seen Turkish words? And polysynthetic languages use sentence-level grammar too. Where are we drawing the line on this synthetic scale? Why are we drawing it in the first place? I have two answers. One, it's partially just Anglo-centric linguistics. Notice where most of the polysynthetic languages are located. They're indigenous to the Americas and Australia. English-speaking linguists are far more likely to hear these languages, notice the way that they differ from English, and categorize them as something weird and alien. But secondly, there is a genuine difference between languages like Turkish and Classical Nahuatl. It's not just how synthetic they are. All these languages are about equally synthetic, maybe Japanese less so and Yupik more so, but again, synthesis is kind of a stupid metric. The major difference is head marking. or what kind of words get to hold the grammar. Ainu, Yupik, and Abkhaz are very strongly head marking. Japanese, Russian, Turkish, and other similar languages are either heavily dependent marking or double marking. Now, let me explain what those words mean. If a phrase is a group of words, a head is what the phrase is about. If you could remove all those other words from the phrase, which word would you need to keep? This works for other types of phrases too. Subjects and objects are the arguments of verbs, so they're dependents, and the verb is the head. For now, that's all you need to know. I'll talk about the dependency versus phrase structure grammar stuff in a future video. Just think about the head like a main course, and the dependent like a side dish. In English, verbs have to agree with subjects. This is head marking, when the head of the phrase holds the grammar. But there's another way to do it too. Think about demonstratives. Those are pointer words like this and that. This example becomes these examples when there's more than one. The phrase is about examples, so that's the head, but it's the dependent that changes. This is an example of dependent marking. And that is what differentiates Japanese from Ainu, Russian from Yupik, and Turkish from Abkhaz. Yes, I pronounced it all right this time. These languages aren't more synthetic, they're just head marking. Yupik can make massive sentence words because it's an agglutinative head marking language. So when you have a phrase with a subject, object, and verb, you can add all sorts of grammatical information to that head. That's because this suffix agrees with he, so you can just drop the pronoun without losing any information, and boom, you have a sentence word. However, you need a verb for a sentence to work, so you can't drop it. It's not about how synthetic the language is. It's about which words get to hold the grammar. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. You get the drill by this point. Thanks for watching, and enjoy having language.